Obsession: How Steve Jobs Changed the World by Losing Everything. Today, Apple isn't just a company. It's a digital empire worth trillions, a symbol of status, flawless design, and technological peak. Now, do you know that in 1985, the man who built it all was publicly kicked out the door? Steve Jobs. They called him a genius, but also an impossible tyrant and a toxic fanatic. Apple's board of directors thought he was sinking the ship. Imagine being fired from the house you built with your own two hands. This isn't just another rags to riches story. This is a thriller about failure, painful obsession, and the greatest comeback in business history. How did a man who lost everything return to make the entire world play by his rules? Today, we track the journey of Apple, from a garage to global sole ownership. It didn't start in Silicon Valley's high-rises, but in a modest blue house in Mountain View. Steve was adopted, a fact that shaped his entire worldview. He always felt different, not just an outsider, but someone who saw the world through a different lens. While other kids were playing football, Steve was tearing apart electronics. He hated school, the rules, the boredom, the routine. He had a sharp tongue and zero discipline. No, he had a gift. He saw beauty where others saw only wires. Meeting the second Steve, Wozniak, was a chemical reaction. Woz was the technical wizard, but Jobs was the visionary who could make that magic serve the people. Back then, no one saw a future billionaire in this barefoot, long-haired rebel. He was just a kid looking for himself. The garage legend isn't a myth. It's a story of grit and desperation. They had no investors, no business plan. To build the first Apple I boards, Steve sold his Volkswagen van, and Woz sold his HP calculator. Jobs couldn't code like Woz. He wasn't an engineer, but he knew how to sell an idea of the future. In a world where computers filled entire rooms and belonged to corporations, Jobs declared, "There will be one in every home." Apple was different from day one. While competitors chased gigahertz, Steve demanded beautiful fonts and elegant cases. He understood that a computer is an extension of the human self. That's how the Apple magic was born. They weren't selling hardware, they were selling the feeling of being part of something great. The Apple II was a nuclear blast. In just a few years, a garage startup became a giant with millions in revenue. At 25, Steve Jobs was a multimillionaire. He was the face of Time magazine, the face of a new era. But with success came a shadow. Jobs' perfectionism turned into obsession. He'd force engineers to redesign a circuit board inside the computer just because it looked ugly, even though no user would ever see it. Office conflicts became the norm. Steve didn't do compromises. He was a young god in sneakers who answered to no one, and it began to destroy him. 1985. The storm hit. The Macintosh was struggling, and a power struggle with CEO John Sculley led to a total meltdown. The board made a choice, and they didn't choose Jobs. At 30, Steve was officially ousted, stripped of power from the company he started. It was a public humiliation, the collapse of his entire life. The business world mocked him. Too arrogant, too unmanageable. His career is over. Imagine that void. You created an industry and now you're banned from even entering the building. Jobs lost everything he had spent years building. But that was the exact moment his true transformation began. Most people would have quit, but Jobs was obsessed. He founded Next, building high-end computers that nearly failed financially, but created the technology of the future. At the same time, he bought a tiny graphics studio from George Lucas. The world would later know it as Pixar. These were the wilderness years. Mistakes, losses, a constant struggle for survival. But this is where Jobs learned to manage not just products, but creativity. Without the failures of Next, we wouldn't have Mac OS. Without Pixar, the world would never have seen Toy Story. Failure was his greatest teacher. It toughened him for the final act. By 1997, Apple was 90 days away from bankruptcy. The company was dying, churning out dozens of boring, nameless products. In an act of desperation, Apple bought Next, and Steve returned. Not as an employee, but as a savior. His decisions were brutal. He fired thousands. He cut 70% of the product line. "We're going to make 4 products, and they're going to be the best in the world," he said. Then came the hits that changed everything. The colorful iMac, the iPod that killed the old music industry, and finally, 2007, the iPhone. When Steve walked onto that stage, The world didn't realize that every other phone had just become obsolete. People laughed at the lack of buttons. Steve just knew the world would never be the same.
And Apple has been, well, first of all, one's very fortunate if you get to work on just one of these in your career. Apple's been very fortunate. It's been able to introduce a few of these into the world. In 1984, we introduced the Macintosh. It didn't just change Apple, it changed the whole computer industry. In 2001, we introduced the first iPod. And it didn't just change the way we all listen to music. It changed the entire music industry. Well, today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products of this class. The first one is a widescreen iPod with touch controls. The second is a revolutionary mobile phone. And the third is a breakthrough internet communications device. So, 3 things: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it Great Images, and you get to see what it really looks like. So I've got a camera here so you can see what I'm doing with my finger for a few seconds. And let me go ahead and get that picture within picture up. I'm going to go ahead and just push the sleep-wake button. And there we go, right there. And to unlock the phone, I just take my finger and slide it across. Right? You want to see that again? Go to sleep. We wanted something that you couldn't do by accident in your pocket, and just slide it across. Boom. And this is the home screen of iPhone right here. And so if I want to get in the iPod, I just go down that lower right-hand corner and push this icon right here, and boom, I'm in the iPod. I want to get home, I push the home button right here, and I'm home. Back in the iPod, I'm back in the iPod. Now here I am, you can see 5 buttons across the bottom, playlists, artists.
Jobs' impact can't be measured in dollars. He changed how we consume information, how we listen to music, and how we talk to each other. He turned gadgets into art. He turned keynotes into Hollywood blockbusters. Through Pixar, he changed cinema forever. He didn't just build tech, he changed human behavior for billions of people. Every time you unlock your phone or touch a screen, you are touching the legacy of a man who refused to accept the world as it was. What does Jobs' story teach us? First, perfectionism isn't a whim, it's the standard. If you're going to do something, make it flawless. Second, failure is fuel. Your setback today can be the foundation for your greatest triumph tomorrow. Jobs proved that vision is more important than resources. Great ideas always seem crazy at first, but if you believe in your idea as fanatically as he did, even fate can't stop you. Steve Jobs left behind more than a company. He left a philosophy. Think different. His life is proof that one person with an unyielding will can move the world. If this story inspired you, hit the like button. Do you think Apple could have survived without Jobs' difficult personality? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more stories about the people who changed the rules. See you in the next one. And remember, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.